Hi everyone, my name is Jan de Wit from Tilburg University, the Netherlands, and I would like to talk to you about a unified model of game design through the lens of user experience. This model is based on a number of different frameworks and concepts from the field of game studies, and it can be used to explain and unravel what the actual experience of interacting with a particular game is like. So one of the frameworks on which this model is based is called the Mechanics Dynamics Aesthetics framework, which describes that low-level game elements or mechanics, including objects, characters, the environment, and story elements, are combined by game designers to create what they call dynamics, or a dynamic system, in which these different elements start interacting with each other to create a more complex interaction. And as a player starts interacting with this dynamic system, the aesthetics happen, which is also known as the experience of interacting with the game. It is, however, unclear from this work whether these aesthetics refer to the intended experience as it is shaped by the designers, or whether it refers to the actual experience that an individual player has when they interact with the game. And this also is described in the field of user experience design, where our interactions with a certain product are not only shaped by the product itself and its features or its intended experience, but also by contextual factors such as the social context or the physical context in which we interact with the product. And the same holds for when we start playing a game. So if we are playing in this particular social situation, we might have a different player experience compared to when we're playing a game by ourselves. Another concept from the field of game studies is the magic circle, which describes that there is a clear difference between the real world and the magic circle, which is depicted by the game system. So different rules, different goals are present in this magic circle compared to the real world. What has been disputed is whether this boundary between the magic circle or the virtual game world and the real world is really that clear-cut and really always the same. And this, of course, given a lot of recent examples such as online games, but also augmented reality style games, we can say that it's often not the case, that there is a clear separation between the virtual and the real. So I propose that we see this more as an interface between the real world and the virtual world, which allows us to really describe the type of information or the emotions that travel through this interface and go beyond the boundary of what separates the virtual from the real. So combining the magic circle with the MDA framework resulted in the model that you see here, where the magic circle is still depicted, and it's actually the same as the dynamic system. So it's the game system that describes the interactions that take place, the dynamics, but also describes what the boundary of this virtual world or the interface actually is like. The actual experience of interacting with a game happens in the real world, is experienced by an individual player, and it is built up out of these different components. So on the one hand, the player experience is based on the interactions that a player has with this virtual world. And as a result, these interactions can also trigger reflective thinking, where there is a deeper processing of the information that is observed in this virtual world. Also, if the boundary between the virtual world and the real world becomes thinner or more blurry, which tends to happen when people feel more present in the virtual world, there is also the possibility of transfer occurring. And this happens a lot, of course, in serious games where the virtual world is made to resemble the real world in many different ways, making it more likely and more easy to feel present in this world, and thus for transfer of knowledge or emotions to occur. So a very concrete example of that is simulations, where you are engaging in interactions in the virtual world that are very easily mapped onto real-world interactions. So you can actually learn something from practicing in this virtual world. A special case of transfer is bleed, which is a term I borrowed from live-action role-playing, where you identify really strongly with your character in the virtual world, which means that the boundary between your real persona and your virtual persona tends to fade. And as a result, it's possible for you to experience very strong emotions that are actually targeted at your virtual persona, but then in the real world. And this also happens the other way around, where, for example, your current mood in the real world can determine how you choose to behave in the virtual world. So it can help shape the actions of your in-game character. So all of these combined result in what I call the actual experience of interacting with a game.